Morning, Rabbi Saik. Very interesting shaila came in recently. Woman calls up with the following shaila. She says like this. She says, I'm very, very disturbed by the following situation. She suggested a shidduch to someone, and when she suggested it to the parents, they were like, sorry, my son is right now not looking into shidduchim, so we're not interested right now in hearing your suggestion. She said, okay, fine, no problem. A few months later, this is how she tells me the Maisa, a few months later, she hears that they actually get engaged. Meaning the suggestion that she had made a few months ago had materialized. And she suggested that shidduch. She calls me up and she says, do I have a right to say, I'm actually the Shadchen? I suggested that they get together. Okay, he wasn't ready at the time, but then all of a sudden it seemed to happen. Somebody else maybe suggested it, or maybe they took my idea and took it to somebody else. Rabbi said, I'd like to spend a few minutes discussing a very interesting shaila la'alocha la'maisa, and that is, what is the din halachically of a shadchen? And this is very negeya. I'll tell you why. It's very negeya. A couple came to the Chazon Ish. This is brought down, by the way, in Tshuvas Van Hoggers. Moshe Sternberg Shlita brings this down in Chelek Aleph. Derek Sicha, Reb Chaim Kanievsky also. A couple came to the Chazon Ish, and unfortunately they were not zoicha to have children. And they had been years and years married. They weren't zoicha to have kids. So they came to the Chazon Ish, and the Chazon Ish asked the shaila. And he said the following: did you, your parents, did somebody, we'll get to that shaila also soon, did somebody pay the shadchen when the shidduch happened or not? They didn't know. They researched the question, and they came back to the Chazon Ish and said, Rebbe, no. The shadchen was never paid for his services. Chazon Ish said, pay, Baruch Hashem, they were zoicha to a child. This is brought down in Tshuvas Van Hoggers. Derek Sicha, Reb Chaim Kanievsky also brings down this ma'aser from the Chazon Ish. That's how choshev it is for a person to pay the shadchen, as we will explain. So first of all, I'll tell you like this. There's a Mordika Medrash. The Medrash in Parashas Tzav tells us who was the very first shadchen in the world of Ada, the Rabbeinu Shalom. The Rabbeinu Shalom made the shidduch between Adam and Chava. In fact, the Chayzum Lublin is quoted saying that if a person makes shidduchim, he's oisik, one of the kashas that a person be'etzem is going to be asked to Gemara on Shabbos when he comes up to the next world after 120 years of living here. They're going to ask him this kasha. So the Chayzum Lublin said if a person is oisik in shidduchim, he's a shadchen, he's zoicha to bonim tamidei chacham. In fact, the Shulchan HaEzer brings down, as is quoted in Minig Yisrael Torah, that it's a gewaldige mitzvah for a person to be busy with shidduchim, even if you're not officially a shadchen. But to suggest to be involved in shidduchim is a very big thing, even for a regular, normal person. We don't even realize what we can possibly do when we actually stop and think of different ideas. And again, poskim seem to say it's a gewaldige mitzvah. So I myself have, Baruch Hashem, been zoicha, even though it's definitely not my day job, but I definitely, Baruch Hashem, been zoicha to make 2 shidduchim from the boys in yeshiva. Tremendous chos, gewaldig. And I will tell you, it is a huge amount of work, maybe more to me because I have other things to do in my day as well. I don't know. It's a huge amount of work, but I want to explain to you where this comes from. Because people have this idea, and unfortunately I've heard this as well from people as well, I don't really need to pay a shadchen. Shkoyach, I appreciate it. I'll give a bouquet of flowers. It's very nice what he did, but I don't have to pay him. What did I ask him to do for me? So we'll discuss that in a minute. First of all, before anything, let's just learn a Ramah. So before Shiramo, Rabbi Say, Choyshe Mishpat, Simon Reish Samach Dalad, Siv Zayin. You look this one up yourself, Rabbi Say. I kid you not. The Ramah brings Ubeshad Chonis. For Shiramo, he says Ubeshad Chonis. He's talking about other things. I'm not going to go into exactly what he's talking about, how he compares it to other things. Ubeshad Chonis, Eile Leschorei. Only has his payment, even though he made it condition to give more. I'm not going into now the details, but it clearly says the Ramah, when it comes to Shadchonis, he's owed money, cash. It's a service. So where does this come from? What's going on? In fact, by the way, the Fida Ramah, even though we're not going now into the Shaila, the Fida Ramah, there's more of a claim of a shadchen than there is, for example, of going to a doctor or a lawyer, which of course we would all expect to pay, which we're not going into at this moment where the Ramah gets that from, but that's what he says. Now, Lamaisa, where does this come from? Why is it that a shadchen needs to be paid? It's a beautiful chesed. We pay people for chesed. It's a gewaltige Sache. Gemilas Chasodim is making shidduchim beautiful. It's a mitzvah. When do we pay people for this? Not only do we pay them, but by the way, that means if the Ramah paskins that way, it means there's a claim in Beis Din. That means someone be'etzem, a shadchan, could take someone to Beis Din and say, you didn't pay me. You owe me the money. It's a chiyuv, it's an obligation. What's the pshat? So be'etzem, where it comes from, is it's basically like a brokerage fee. That's what a fee. That's what it is. Just like you would pay someone that, makes a shidduch between you and a real estate guy, get to an apartment, whatever it is, to buy, to rent, whatever it is. It's a pretty standard practice that we pay people for these things. It's called a brokerage fee in that case, which comes from the Gemara in Bab Metzia Daf Samach Gimel, where the Gemara in Bab Metzia talks clearly about someone that arranges a sale of property or merchandise between two people, which again is Paskin and Shulchan Aruch in Choshen Mishpat very clearly, Al Pi the Gemara in Bab Metzia Samach Gimel, means I'm a broker. So too, a Shadchen is be'etzem, he's a broker between the side A and side B. So therefore he needs to be paid. So that's clear. It's a chiyuv in Choshen Mishpat, it's a chiyuv in halacha, no shaila whatsoever to pay the Shadchen. Here's the question, Rabbi Say, many people ask, and that is, did I ask him to make the shidduch? Like, I understand if I call a Shadchen and I say, can you please make my shidduch? Or my daughters, my sons, my cousins, my nephews, whatever it is shidduch. Can you please do? I'm, so to speak, hiring him to do a service. So I get that. What happens if a guy calls up a guy and says, I got a great shidduch for you. This girl is going to be an amazing shidduch for you. He follows it through, they get engaged. And now comes the shaila, shadchonis, you have to pay or not. So the shadchonis will come along and they'll say, what do you mean? I didn't ask him. I hired him to be my shadchan. No. He called me up, even if he's a professional shadchan. He called me up and he offered me a shidduch. Say no, I didn't hire him to do that. So by the way, without going into, again, the shadows discussing here can go on for hours. But one of the things that we're discussing, the Gemara talks about this in the Metzia Daf Kuf Aleph, the Gemara talks about the Indian of Yovid L'Soik Soder Chaveir Shalai B'Rishus, right? Going into someone's field without permission, whenever the shaila is what you do for his field. And the Gemara clearly talks about it in Metzia Daf Kuf Aleph, that a person has to pay for various things that happen over there, which would mean, Lefizeh, even if you don't hire the shadchan, you didn't ask him to make the shidduch. He calls you up. At the end of the day, he did something in that case. You are required to pay the shadchan in that case because he's considered to be a yored. The Vilna Gaon says this clearly in the Gra on Choshen Mishpat that he's considered to be a yored, and therefore, just like you would have paid anyone for that service, you pay the shadchan, even if you didn't require or ask him for his services. Now, here's another shayla that Olam ask. Okay, I get it. A shadchan that's a professional shadchan that does it for panusa or does it stam, I get it. What if it's a family friend or even a close friend of mine? What happens if the person that suggests the shidduch is not even a shadchan? It's a family member. An uncle calls up, I have a gewaldige shidduch for you. Okay, very nice. They're being friendly, they're doing chesed. I have to pay them for this? I owe them money for this? By the way, this is not a brand new shaila. This shaila was asked hundreds of years ago about this exact shaila, where somebody suggested a shidduch to their niece. It happened, it materialized, she got engaged, and then the uncle came along and said, okay, I made the shidduch, pay up. They're like, oh, come on. You're the uncle, you were stam, you were helping us out, whatever it may be. So the shaila came to Rav Yoy Chaim Bachrach, known as the Chavis Yoy. The Chavis Yoy wrote a shaila in his tshuvas specifically about this, and he writes, Avada, there's no shaila whatsoever. Even if it's a family member or a friend, he needs to be paid. He has an obligation to be paid in that case. Now the question is, who is the one that needs to be paid? Right? Who's the one that needs to be paid? Is it, number one, the young couple? Because after all, they're getting the hana. They're the one who's getting married based on the shadchanis. They're the ones who are getting married. They're getting the hana. Or do we say it's the parents who are paying for everything else, so why don't they pay for this also? We don't expect the couple to pay for the l'chaim or for the vot or whatever. We expect the parents to get involved, right? That's what the Tanoim is. So Mamela, if that's the case, so this should be exactly the same. We should also require the parents to pay shadchanos in that case. And again, this is subject to a major machlokes. The Avnei Nezer is of the opinion, which seems to be not the accepted custom in what I know as most of the world. The Avnei Nezer seems to say that the couple have to pay. not the parents, even though the minig is that the parents pay, but in fact the couple actually have to pay. That's what the Avnei Nezer paskins in that case. However, others want to say that Lichas Yisrael brings down, quoting the Erech Shai, that of Kavada Nisht, it's on the parents to pay, it's not on the couple to pay. And by the way, this is a major nafkamina. What happens if the parents don't pay? Could the Shadchen now go to the couple and say, listen, your parents didn't pay, now you owe me the money. You owe me the money, right? That's the shaila, whether or not he's allowed to accept or go to the couple and collect payment from that. There is a shaila, which we're not going into now, about Baltolin, about paying on time, which also is an interesting question of when do you have to pay the Shadchen? When does he need to be paid? For example, the Ramah seems to say you should pay it after the Chasna, which is the Maisa, the Trumas Hadeshen also seems to say, after the Chasna you pay the Shadchen. Although many poskim hold the Maisa that if you don't make it Tanoim, you should already be paying from the time that the Shidduch is completed in that case. So there's a big shaila about when to pay and how that works. Again, obviously, that should be discussed with the Rav at the time. How much to pay the Shadchen? Often, and as I paskin in Pischei Tshuva in Even Ezer, he says that according to the minig hamokoim, so whatever the accepted fee is in the area that you are, that's how much you have to pay. Now here's an interesting shaila. What happens if sometimes two Shadchonim are involved with a Shidduch? Right? For example, you can have a situation which is brought down, by the way, in a Tshuva Shev Yaakov, in Chosh Mishpat Yud Gimel. The Shev Yaakov brings the case that Levi, he says, recommended that Ruvain's son meet Shimon's daughter. After the engagement of the young couple, came along a Yid called God, and God said, what do you mean? I originally suggested the Shidduch, and therefore if I suggested the Shidduch, I'm entitled to at least partial of the Shadchonis geld. So the Shev Yaakov writes in Shuvas that he researched all the claims, and it was taka true that God actually had went along and suggested that Shidduch, and it happens to be at the time, Shimon and his family had no interest in pursuing the Shidduch. It wasn't ready right now. Levi was a real persistent Shadchen, and he pushed and pushed and pushed, and he convinced Shimon to actually accept the Shidduch, and he considered to take Reuven's son for his daughter. So the Shev Yaakov paskin in this case, that God was not entitled to any part of the Shadchonis, because Shadchonis is only for someone that's involved in the discussions all the way till it reaches fruition, till it gets to the end, till it's signed and sealed, and the Shidduch is made. Since at the end of the day, God made a beautiful proposal, but it didn't end up anywhere, so therefore he's not considered to be any Shadchan. However, there are certain times that even the Shev Yaakov will be maskim, that if the first Shadchen does have more of a say, and he does get more involved, that it could have a partial chiyuv or obligation to be paid, because he did have more involved in that case over there. So it really depends on what they do. Sometimes, for example, you'll have a Shadchen that will suggest it, who's not a professional Shadchen. So listen, I got a great idea for you, but I'm not going to be involved in it. I'm not a Shadchen. I don't know what it means to be busy with the different, how it goes to Shidduchim, right? You have to, follow up with each one after each date, backwards, forwards. You have to go backwards, forwards. It's a ganze Geschäft. I don't want to be busy with it. I'm suggesting it. Go take it to Levi. Levi is a guy who's a Shadchen. He'll deal with it. So that's the question. Over there, Be'etzim, he was going to do it, but he didn't want to be bothered with the time. So in it could be there, he would be maskem, that he would have a chiyuv, or at least a partial chiyuv, in what it means to be a Shadchen. What does it mean anyway, the word Shadchen anyway? Like, what is the word Shadchen? What is it? Where does it come from, and what does it mean? So there's a Mordecai Ran in Masechta Shabbos. The Ran brings in Masechta Shabbos. The word Shadchen means peace, shalom. It means peace and harmony, which is what we hope the couple will have after the match is made. There's an Oruch that learns the word Shadchen comes from the word tying, which is what we're trying to do. The person is involved in tying the two sides together. So that's generally where that comes from in that case. And as we spoke about, there is, of course, a nafkamina of when to pay and can you use Maisa money. The answer is Avada, you cannot use Maisa money. The Medrash tells us that Avada Moshe, the Rabbeinu Shalom was the first Shadchen, but after that Moshe Rabbeinu, says the Medrash, was the next Shadchen to bring Klal Yisrael together with the Torah. Shadchanim spend a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort in Shidduchim. We should be machshav the work that they do. And this was today's Shaila. Join us tomorrow for a brand new Sugya. Have a wonderful day.